you could drink while. Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. It's part 2 of 1983. Now I know you found that last episode riveting.
Well,
We
it's
hope
a
so.
prequel, you see, to Orwell's 1984.
Well, and the thing is we're recording this before the first episode drops. So we don't know if you found it riveting, but I do know that the YouTube is up for some odd reason, and you guys love it when we talk about mothers. So that was a good pick on our side, I guess. Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't know why you're coming to the YouTube, but thank you.
No, please do. And tell your friends. Tell your
friends,
enemies.
Subscribe. Yeah. Wherever you get podcasts, subscribe and tell your enemies and friends. So, James, we're up to July 1st. Am I correct? Chad,
Yeah, July 1st. And
Yeah.
now, if you remember, just to refresh your memory, let's say you did watch the first part, but you're like, well, we're to July. What was going on? Well, once again, just as a quick reminder, for much of the first part of the year, Chad's favorite film, Tootsie, ruled the box office, even though it came out in 1982. And then we get the Star Wars episode 1 there. I'm sorry, episode 4, 5, 6, something. I don't know. Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
I just want to point out, I will eventually watch Tootsie, and I'm going to hate myself if I go, damn, that's a good movie.
I haven't seen it in years.
Meanwhile, Chad, I hate myself for loving you.
Meanwhile,
go fuck yourself.
I'm going to start saying,
I do every day.
Lick it up. Oh.
With all the choices I've made in my life, Chad, I assure you I do every day. But anyway, so Tootsie, and then Star Wars comes out. Star Wars was in a limited amount of theaters compared to some other stuff. We talked about some of the other films that came out and had way more theaters, but of course couldn't topple Return of the Jedi. And then we had Superman 3, Twilight Zone, some of the other ones. But gentlemen, July 1st, you would think, hey, you're heading into the July 4th weekend. Surely you're going to have a new release that will replace something. Well, let me just go through the top 10, and I'll let you know when I get to the new release. Of course, Star Wars Return of the Jedi holds on to number 1. Superman 3 holds on at number 2. Trading Places was in 5th, but moves up to 3rd. Twilight Zone maintains number 4. Porky's 2, The Next Day, falls to number 5 after being at number 3. Octopussy holds on at number 6 for you Bond fans. War Games is at number 7, and it is not until number 8 that we get a that premieres at $5,886,571. And you know what that new release is, gentlemen? It's a film that we all talk about as being the gestalt of cinema of 1983. That would be, of course, Stroker Ace.
They only premiered at number 8.
That premiered at number 8, gentlemen. Number 9 was The Survivors, and number 10 was Flashdance, by the way.
Let's be honest. Stroker Ace is an entertaining film, but it is severely flawed.
What? There couldn't be anything wrong with it. It is a great poster that I bought off of our good friend Jared Greer, who has done no wrong ever in his life.
So, is this where he met Lonnie, or were they already married by that time? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so you all want to tell the listeners what Stroker Ace is, but not Stoker. That would be about Bram
Stoker Ace Jr. He ran rally cars fighting vampires.
Oh my God, we need to write that movie.
Stroker Ace is directed by Hal Needham, and Hal Needham gave us Smokey and the Bandit and blah, 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 blah. But he's a NASCAR driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any of the other plot, any of the rest of the plot.
He clashes with the guy who sponsors him. That's all I remember.
I don't even remember that.
I believe the owner is Ned Beatty.
Oh, well, that makes sense because that tracks because it's a Burt picture.
And it has Jim Neighbors in it, too.
His buddy is Jim Neighbors, right? Yeah.
Who is the best leading man in movie history? Fought the ladies off with a stick, Jim Neighbors did.
He ended up owning like a nut farm in Hawaii.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not shitting you. I'm some sort of farm. He raised nuts or something.
Oh, I thought you meant a people who are psychologically disturbed.
No, that's really,
Really?
insensitive. I almost
Really,
said something
Chad?
awful. I almost said something awful.
I am not joking.
Those
I
are normally
almost
called
said something
asylums,
awful.
Chad.
He ran to the insane
That is
asylum.
really insensitive, you fucker.
I'm an idiot.
We don't call batshit people nuts.
There's our hour in purgatory for this week. Ah,
Right.
I'm just
good night, everybody.
It's funny
Oh.
though. You could do a whole commercial for Jim Neighbor's Nut House. Are you nuttier than squirrel shit? Come on down. You see ghosts, goblins talking to grandma's vagina? Come on down.
Hey,
Jim Neighbor's Nut
hey,
House.
Aunt B, get the Xanax ready.
Xanax.
Diazepam.
Larry, shoot her down with the diazepam. I said take her down. Sorry, that's an inside joke for these two assholes.
Oh,
Okay.
good time.
Yeah.
James, number
Jim
one.
Neighbor's Nut House. Are we on to the next weekend?
July 8th, gentlemen. You know what
Hold
happens
on.
July 8th?
I can't believe
Round
Strucker
it
Ace
out.
was a 4th of July big movie.
But
July
it
8th.
was number 8.
Yeah,
It was
what
number 8.
9 and
So
10.
what was 9 and 10? You didn't finish it out.
Oh, 9 and
Survivors?
10 was Flashdance and the Survivors.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
All right, so we get to July 8th, and you want to know what film premiered this week that premiered in the top 10?
What?
Nothing. Star Wars remains number 1, Return of the Jedi. Trading Places moves up to number 2, though.
Hmm.
It keeps moving up the charts. Superman falls to number 3. Superman 3 falls to number 3. War Games goes from 7 to 4. Octopussy goes. Porky's 2 falls to 6. Twilight Zone falls from 4 to 7. Stoker Ace remains at number 8. It premiered at 8, and by golly, it's going to stay at 8. Flashdance moves up to number 9 from number 10, and The Survivors goes from 9 to 10. No movies that premiered this week broke the top 10, gentlemen.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ready for July 15th?
Yeah, I'm still perplexed of how the 4th of July weekend movie was Stroker Ace. Is
Well, that's
anybody
okay.
else not a little really Stroker Ace? All right. Yes,
That's
James.
okay, because finally, Star Wars is going to be dethroned, and we know, of course, what dethrones Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Trading Places.
Another film that defined 1983 as a year of phenomenal sequels that will never be questioned and should not be given anything but respect. Because, gentlemen, premiering at number 1 from Paramount Pictures, grossing $19,352,000.
That's a big
Is-
haul.
Staying Alive.
Oh, my God.
Damn, I didn't realize it was that big of a hit.
Really?
Staying Alive
Uh-uh.
knocks out Star Wars, which, by the way, Joe, this is the weekend that they finally added more theaters to Star Wars. It jumps up to 1,644 screens, only for Staying Alive to premiere on 1,660 and knock it out of first place.
So I've only seen parts of Staying Alive. It's awful, right?
I mean, it's directed by Sylvester Stallone.
Right. Yeah, I know that.
I haven't seen it. To me, it's kind of, I actually thought it was more of a ripoff of Flashdance. So this is the reason why I'm sitting here a little mesmerized that it came out in the same year. So obviously they're all being influenced by whatever fame bullshit things going on. Does that make
Because it's
sense
John
to you all?
it's John Travolta in a loincloth at one point and a headband, right?
Basically, yeah. I just didn't realize it was that successful when it premiered.
That is shocking.
Premieres at number 1, knocks out Return of the Jedi. Now, keep in mind, Return of the Jedi had been, in the top number 1 for 8 weeks. So, take it as you will. But yeah, I mean, so of course Star Wars falls to number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3 is a re-release by Walt Disney, and we talked about this last week. Re-releases don't happen anymore because of home video and all that stuff.
Well, they do, but they'll come out in 3D, and the sequel's coming out because they did do this with Titanic. Not that they don't do it much anymore. I agree with you.
We are waiting for that sequel to Titanic. Turns out,
I mean, not
Moby Dick.
Titanic, but Avatar.
Avatar.
But they did re-release Titanic.
They did too. Usually it's because, hey, let's see if we can get it back to number 1 overall or whatever. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
It worked well for Morbius.
Oh God, that was a horrible movie.
It's terrible. What'd you say, James?
A Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is what's re-released. By the way, in re-release on 1,362 screens makes over $10 million in re-release. So if you ever wonder why did they re-release, because it used to be, I mean, you could have watched it on home video, and when these things went into the vault, you had to wait till they came back out in theaters.
Right.
Sadly, Trading Places falls back down to number 4. War Games falls to 5. Octopussy falls back down to 6. Superman 3 falls from 3rd place down to 7th. Porky's 2 falls down to 8th. Flashdance holds on at number 9. And Twilight Zone falls to 10. But the only new release that's not a re-release is Staying Alive that premieres at number 1.
Yeesh.
We're now to July 22nd. And gentlemen, I know you're rooting for it. I know you want it to happen so badly that Staying Alive would hold on to number 1, but it's not going to happen. We get another new release. And even though Staying Alive holds pretty well, it only drops 28%. It makes $13 million, over almost $14 million in the second week, but it's no match for the juggernaut that comes out and knocks it to second, because Universal drops Jaws 3D. And it premieres at over $20 million.
That is insane. But
The
I mean, at the
per
same
screen
time, it's
average on it
Jaws.
is huge.
The 3D movies were rare then,
Mm-hmm.
and it begins with the floating fish head, right? Just floating into the screen.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I think it's the fish head.
Its per theater average is over $15,000 per screen or per theater. It does really well. It
There's
knocks
a-
Staying Alive to number 2.
As a Lou Gossett Jr. He's in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That man is cinema gold. Not Dennis Quaid, Lou Gossett Jr.
Also, if you don't remember Lou Gossett Jr., he's the one that played Black Bart in the TV
version.
series of
Mhm.
Blazing Saddles. Just in case you're wondering.
No, seriously, I'm not kidding about Lou Gossett Jr. I would watch. I still do. If he's in
Oh.
if he's in something, I will sit down and watch it. I love Lou Gossett Jr. I
Dude,
have,
He's fantastic
yeah.
actor.
Digstown is watchable no matter what's going on
Yeah.
in my life. But anyway, so Jaws 3D, Staying Alive
You
falls to number
suck at
2.
motivation.
Now you motivate me. Snow White and the
Ugh.
Seven Dwarfs holds on at number 3, making $7 million in its second week of re-release. Star Wars has now fallen to number 4. But we get another new release at number 5. And we all remember the 1983 classic starring Rob Lowe, Jacqueline Bisset, Andrew McCarthy, and of course the great Cliff Robertson. Class.
No.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, you remember Class?
No.
A young man at a private school spends one crazy night out, but soon realizes the woman who he hooked up with is not who he expected. Come on, with that summary, you must remember Class. Oh, it was directed by Louis John Carlino. I'll stop talking about Class. Nobody cares about it. Nobody remembers Class.
No.
But it had some of them Brat Pack folks in it, but nobody remembers it. All right, fine. You know why you all don't remember it? You have no class.
No, that's
Meh.
true. Nobody's going to argue with you on that.
Trading Places falls back down to 6. War Games falls to 7. Octopussy falls to 8. Flashdance holds on again at number 9. Superman 3 falls to 10.
Damn. All right. What we got next?
We are now at the end of July. This is July 29th. And we finally get a film that some people still hold in respect. And it knocks Jaws 3D out of number 1 and actually takes almost 50% of its box office away from it, because we get National Lampoon's Vacation. Premieres at number 1.
That's cool. Yeah. And that is a classic that people still remember.
Okay,
Yep.
but that and what Psycho 2 and Return of the Jedi are the only 3 movies for a whole year
That's not
so
true.
far. What did I miss?
I don't remember.
What am I forgetting?
I don't remember.
Well, gentlemen,
Here's
Chad, there's another one that comes out this weekend that you probably have a soft spot for. You don't. But so National Lampoon's premieres at number 1. Jaws falls to number 2. Star Wars moves back up to number 3. Staying Alive falls to 4. But premiering at number 5, making $8 million, is of course the classic film Kroll. Kroll.
I watched it as a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time. I didn't even really particularly care for Kroll as a kid.
I didn't see it as a kid. I tried to watch it several years ago just to see, and I could not I got 30 minutes in and turned it off. I was so bored.
Now, did you know this is true? There's actually a giveaway that you can get married on Kroll's set.
Yeah, I remember you brought this up in a previous episode.
It's just a good. We need to check in on those kids, find out how they're doing, getting married on the Kroll set and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was from the director of Bullet, it was from the director of Bullet, which was shocking.
But yeah. So that premieres at number 5, and premiering at number 6 is another film that again defined a generation. 1983's classic film starring Phoebe Cates and Betsy Russell and Matthew Modine, directed by Noel Black. Of course, I refer to Private School.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Private School. Anybody? Look up the poster. It'll tell you what the film's about.
Yeah. That is an 80s poster.
Trading Places, 7. Class fell to 8. And 9th is Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. 10th is War Games, but no other ones. So we're now to August, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
National Lampoons holds on at number 1.
Yeah.
Star Wars moves back up to number 2. But at number 3, a film that some people still talk about today, premiering at number 3 is Risky Business. Anybody? Risky Business?
Well, I haven't seen it in a long time, and honestly, I'm sitting here, and I know it made Tom Cruise a star, but I'm sitting here thinking of Rebecca De Mornay and a really great shot of her when she drops the robe back. And I'm sorry, I know makeup, she's just absolutely beautiful and lovely in it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had a crush on Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah, I do too.
But it wasn't from Risky Business, believe it or not. But yeah, I am not a huge Tom Cruise fan. I haven't been. I don't think I ever will be. Except there's a handful of movies of Tom Cruise's that I thoroughly enjoy, which is more than most actors. But I'm even before now, where he's almost insufferable. I've just never been a big Tom Cruise fan, and when I watched that movie, I just was not a fan of it. I could never get into Risky Business. I know it's a classic. I know
it's got Joey Pants as the bad guy, right? Joey Pantoliano.
It's also got Richard Mazur in it too. So and Bronson Pinchot and Curtis Armstrong. I mean, it's got a ton of actors in it that are amazing, but I just can never get into Risky Business.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Chad, it premiered at number 3. But we do have another new release, not till number 9. But actually, I've never heard of this film. Maybe you all have. But now that I've heard of it, I want to see it because it stars Hal Holbrook, Michael Douglas, Yaphet Kotto, Sharon Gless, and it's directed by Peter Hyam. Am I saying that right? Hyams?
Yeah, Peter Hyam. Yeah.
Who also wrote it with Roderick Taylor, and that is the film The Star Chamber.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I actually have never.
I've seen The Star Chamber, yeah.
Frustrated with the legal system gone haywire, a secret society of judges hires hitmen to snuff out criminals who escape courtroom justice. But one young judge questions the ethics of their vigilante system. Other than sounding like an odd prequel to Judge Dredd, I've never seen it, but I'm a big Hal Holbrook fan.
I liked this movie when I was younger. I haven't seen it in years, but yeah, it is a weird premise. But yeah, it's kind of just a straight early 80s action film. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, it premiered at number 9, making $3 million. So not a huge hit by any means. But...
yeah, I can't believe it went that low.
But there you go. All right.
What's next?
We are now to August 12th, where we will find another new release, but it doesn't unseat National Lampoon's holds on number 1. But we have actually interviewed some people that worked on this film, or not interviewed. We've moderated panels
Yeah.
because premiering at number 2, Cujo.
Yeah.
Mm,
that one's a movie people still talk about and watch.
1983 is, yeah. I mean, I'm still saying 1983 so far, with the exception of a handful of movies. It's still a dog turd of a year for movies. So I can't.
I disagree.
So Cujo premieres at number 2. Hold on, I'm getting ready to break Joe's heart. The rest stays pretty much the same, except we get to number 10. And guess what premieres at number 10, Joe?
Smokey and the Bandit 3.
No, Curse of the Pink Panther.
That,
But
now
you
that's
know what? You know what premieres at number 11 outside the top 10?
Smokey and the Bandit 3.
Yes, Joe. Yes, it
No.
got
It was-
beat by Curse of the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit 3
Didn't break
premiered
the top 10.
that low.
Yeah.
It isn't Curse of the Pink Panther. It's not.
That's not
It's
Peter Sellers.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's who is it? It's
Is it Benini?
no,
isn't it Ted Wass is the son, right? Or
It's-
something like that?
I think it's made up of deleted scenes from the other movies, guys.
Oh, is it?
I think so. And they just kind of put makeup on somebody.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's okay.
Yeah,
I-
it's David
it's-
Niven is in it, Robert Wagner, but yes, I
but Ted
believe
Wass
you're-
is Ted Wass is the man hired to track him down.
yeah.
And if you don't know
yeah.
who Ted Wass is, Blossom. Blech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's just made up of deleted scenes and things from the other Pink Panther movies that didn't make it in. It's not
Man, and that-
watchable. It's not
Yeah.
watchable.
And that premiered over
Smokey and the Bandit 3.
3. That is crazy. All right, what about the next week?
All right. Well, gentlemen, we do finally see a new movie at number 1.
Yeah.
And that is again another classic, Easy Money.
Yeah. There you go. Check.
All right, 1983 is growing.
I watched it a while back. It still holds up.
I did too, and yes, it does.
It's still, in fact, there's certain things of it that are better now that I'm older.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a great joke that would never get past the censors now because Rodney Dangerfield plays a child photographer who has all these problems. And if you've never seen it, go out and watch it. But when the little girl goes, "How old are you?" And she goes, "I'm this many." And he goes, "Well, call me when you're this many." Right?
Yep.
Just, I know it's,
And he's like, isn't he like smoking cigarettes too at the kids'
yes,
birthday
of course it
parties?
was the 80s.
I
Everybody
know.
was smoking cigarettes and around the kids. I mean, it was a different time. You had cigarettes blown up your butt.
No, in a station wagon with all the windows rolled up.
Why did they make you go in the station wagon before they blew the cigarettes up your butt? That sounds like an uncomfortable place to have cigarettes blown up your butt.
That's why they put me in there. That was punishment.
That makes
Or
sense.
was it?
James.
So
Dead Knife
everything
went off
else
the
stays the
rails.
same, except I want to point out something that has been creeping in the background and all of a sudden gets wide release. This had been on the charts at number 14, number 13, but it moves up, and all of a sudden this weekend they add 473 screens and it jumps to number 3 from number 12 and when it was in, I guess, a more limited release, because Mr. Mom breaks the top 10, more than doubling what it was getting in limited release at number 3.
That's funny that they started out limited release with Mr. Mom, because that's another movie. Once again, Chet says this year sucks, but that's another movie people still know.
I'm not. It's growing on me.
And it's written by John Hughes.
I'm not saying though that 1983 didn't have some really, really bad films compared to the other years we've covered, though.
That's not true. It had Smokey and the Bandit 3.
Yeah,
Not in the top 10 it didn't.
Keep proving my point. It's okay. No, I don't care for Mr. Mom. I never did. I thought it was boring. Yeah, I
You
was.
don't have
hold on.
kids.
The good thing is, Chad, you're going to
I-
be happy about another movie that breaks the top 10 that's a new release this weekend.
Okay.
Released by Universal, but directed by the great Charles Band. Metal Storm, the destruction of Jared Sin, premieres at number 8. Chad, you want to talk about Metal Storm?
Never seen it.
I've never seen it, James.
You really have never seen Metal
I've
Storm?
never seen Metal Storm, but I want to.
It was released in 3D. Here's the plot summary. On a desert planet, warlord Jared Sin is trying to convince a tribe of mutants that he's their messiah and gain unlimited
Mutants.
power hidden in a crystal. Roger Dogan and explorer Diana, whose father was murdered by Sin,
By the
must
way,
stop him.
Diana was played by Kelly Preston, which we're going to see her come up later on again.
Yeah.
But stars the great Tim Thomerson,
Which is not a shocker for Full Moon Entertainment.
the great Richard Mall,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to track down this movie.
and Jeffrey Byron. That's some other people, but really Richard Mall's the star.
And the poster,
And
the poster is so 80s badass, and I'm sure the movie looks nothing like the poster.
Oh no, but I love the fact they make sure it's 3D.
Have you
like-
seen Metal Storm?
Dude, I've seen it, but I probably was I don't remember anything about it. Like I think it
I'm
was one that
sure
they
it's
showed on
awful.
Sci-Fi Channel when Sci-Fi Channel was just starting up.
Yeah.
But it's got a 3.8 out of 10 rating, so you know it's good. But directed by Charles Band, written by Alan J. Adler. There you go. That's the only so those two, we get both Easy Money and Metal Storm is new, and then Mr. Mom breaks the top 10 after being expanded quite a bit. But that is how we rang in August 19th. the
Oh
weekend
my
of
goodness,
August
we've
19th.
got to go a little quicker.
Well, we're to August 26th now, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden, Mr. Mom jumps to number 1 as they add 501 more screens. Risky Business never gets to number 1 because Mr. Mom jumps it. Easy Money falls to number 3. Risky Business holds on to number 2. But there is one new release. I take that back. Sorry. There are 2 new releases that break the top 10. At number 5, Joe's favorite movie studio of all time, Canon Productions, releases or unleashes, I guess you could say, Hercules.
Yeah.
Hercules. Anybody? Hercules?
Is this the one with Lou Ferrigno?
Yeah, sounds right. Sure. I didn't
Thanks.
pull it up. I thought you all might have something on it, so I didn't.
I
pull it
have
up, but,
nothing to say about it.
and again, if it is, I'm sure I've seen it, but
Yeah, it's the one.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the one. It's the one with Lou Ferrigno and Brad Harris.
I've never
Uh,
seen it.
that
I-
premieres at
I
number
haven't.
5. Premiering at number 7 is a film more people probably remember. The Adventures of Bob and Doug McKenzie, Strange Brew.
Strange Brew. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 1983 is good.
Yeah. Yeah. But all right, I'm going to be the one who shits a little bit on Strange Brew.
How can you shit on Strange Brew?
It's almost so strange.
You were just basking about Smokey and the Bandit 3, but you're gonna
Yeah, but mainly that's me just being an asshole, being completely honest. And I haven't seen Smoking the Bandit 3 in a long time, and that lady that's in that movie is almost intolerable. Gosh, such a bad performance. But I haven't watched Strange Brew in a long time, and I think it was too weird for me to get as a kid, and I wonder if that's what's made it odd to me the rest of my life.
I didn't see it until I was in high school. My friend said, the one friend I had in high school said, Chad, you have to watch Strange Brew. And I watched it and I was so in love with it. It was so funny and bizarre.
It is very bizarre.
So yeah, I have a soft spot for Strange Brew.
Dang it.
So what's next, James?
Well, I want to talk about. So we're to the week of September 2nd, the weekend that begins September 2nd, and there are no new things in the top 10. No, but I'm going to go beyond the top 10 because I want to talk about a couple of these because I've seen them, and I know what you're thinking. How many films would New World release on one weekend?
You would hope not many.
Well, the answer is more than you would think. But premiering at number 15 is Mortuary, which is
Mhm.
released by Artist Releasing.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody knows Mortuary or not.
No.
But premiering at number 17, released by Universal, is Nightmares.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Nightmares, the poster is minimalist at best. 2 eyes and the hand sticking out, right? Directed by Joseph Sargent, and starring Christina Rains, Joe Lambie. But most importantly, Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
It's one of his early roles. But nobody talks about Nightmares anymore. But I wanted to bring this up because even though these are all outside the 10, we then get into what I'll just call the New World releasing stack. Striker is released by New World. Deathstalker, which I've totally seen. And then we've interviewed somebody involved with this, premiering at number 21 as a new release, Turkey Shoot.
Oh,
Yeah, Brian Trenchard Smith.
Yep, Australian film for those that don't know, but it premiered in the U.S. actually at 21, and I have seen Turkey Shoot, and it should have premiered, and I've seen Deathstalker. I must admit, I haven't seen Striker that I remember.
a Turkey Shoot. Yeah, it should.
Turkey Shoot should have been way above Deathstalker.
Yeah.
It's a far better film. Far better film. So, but I wanted to point this out because that's a slew of films. Deathstalker it's a sword and sandal. It's been mocked by Mr. Sassy 3000, whereas Turkey Shoot has not. Turkey Shoot has some social commentary. Deathstalker has about an 80-minute runtime. So, all right. September 9th. Nightmares, by the way, from Universal. Remember I said it premiered at 15? It jumps up to number 3 in its second week.
Wow.
I don't know what it's got going for it, but I probably should check it out, I guess.
Joe Lambie.
But you know what else comes up this weekend?
What?
Nothing. Revenge of the Ninja premieres at number 15 from Canon.
Yeah, let's skip it. Next weekend.
That's what I've got, folks. We're now to September 16th. And as far as new movies coming out, by the way, Star Wars is still holding on. Nothing breaks the top 10, but 2 films at 12 and 14. MGM UA Classics releases Who Dares Wins, which comes out at number 12. But Orion Pictures releases at number 14 Strange Invaders.
I've seen it. It stars Paul LeMat and I think Nancy. Oh, she was married to Brian De Palma. Nancy, what's her name from RoboCop? Nancy
Pelosi.
Allen.
Oh,
I can't remember. Paul LeMat was had some fame. He's in what's it? American Graffiti. But it's not oh God, it's such a strange picture, guys. You really should find it and watch it. It's not without merit. It's just such an oddball picture. There's aliens. It's a small town. I know I could go. We could do a Bonehead Weekly fun size about Strange Invaders, but keep going, James.
I guess we're at September 23rd now. Is that where I left off? Because
Sure.
Joe, we finally get one of your all-time favorite movies that you've brought up on our show quite honestly several times. I don't know if sarcastically or not, but it's one that has a sequel, which is surprising because I believe the protagonist dies at the end. Because premiering at number 4, Mr. Mom, by the way, held on to number 1. Risky Business is still at number 2. National Lampoon's is at number 3. But premiering at number 4 is your all-time favorite film, Joe, Eddie and the Cruisers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Eddie and the Cruisers too. Eddie lives on the docks. Why do I always think Eddie and the Cruisers came out in 84, not 83? I don't know why.
By the way, to our listeners, since Joe just ramped up Strange Invaders, it is streaming free on Tubi currently.
You should check it out if you're looking for something really bizarre with Paul LeMat. If you know him from, he's just a forgotten actor. I don't mean any disrespect. It's just no one talks about him. And he was in a number 1 picture. He was in a few things other than that as well. I want you two to watch it. And
I'm going to watch it since it's on Tubi, and I'll let you know. So, James, what did you say premiered?
On
Eddie
the
and the
dark
Cruisers.
side.
Oh, Eddie and the Cruiser. Screw that movie.
The only thing people remember is the damn song.
On the dark side.
And I have no idea how that fucker got a sequel. Did we talk about why it got a sequel?
No,
in the episode?
no. No.
I don't know. So
By
go
the way,
next. What? What?
release that comes out this week, it is outside of the top 10. Premiering at 13, though, is a film that was originally shot in 1982 and sounds like one we would watch on a bad Halloween movie night. Starring Christopher George, Linda Day George, wonder if they're related. They are. And Frank Brana, released in the U.S. in 1983, filmed in 1982 and released in its home country under the title of Mil Gritos Tien La Noche, released in the United States as Isis. The co-eds of a Boston college campus are targeted by a mysterious killer who is creating a human jigsaw puzzle from their body parts. Something for the kids.
Yeah, basically.
But that's the only other thing that premieres at 13. So we are now to the end of September, and we do get some new releases that are in the top 10.
Okay.
Premiering at number 1 from Sony Pictures, The Big Chill.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Big Chill. Anybody? Okay.
Yeah. 1983. Yeah.
One of the best soundtracks of all time for a movie.
And I don't know if anybody knows this picture. We may need to look this one up because I've never heard you all talk about it, which is rare. That there's not a film that any of us have touched on. The Honorary Consul
No idea.
premieres at number 3. Let me pull this up because I want to know how it premiered at number 3.
You're blanking out there for a second, James.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
seeing it come up. Also, I'm not.
I've got it. I've got it. It was re-released under a different title. It originally premiered under the title The Honorary Consul.
Beyond the Limit.
Beyond the Limit. Richard Gere, Michael Caine, and Bob Hoskins.
So it's a Bob Hoskins movie, so I immediately have to see it.
During the Dirty War, a half-English doctor in Argentina befriends the police, the rebels, and the alcoholic honorary British consul, whose Latino wife he seduces. When the consul is mistakenly kidnapped by the rebels, he must pick a side. I'd never heard of that film before.
I don't like picking sides. I always pick the wrong one.
And then another 1983 classic that I'm sure you'll have an opinion on. One of you will. Released at number 6 by MGM. Another classic. Brainstorm.
Brainstorm?
Christopher
Brainstorm.
Walken's Brainstorm.
Oh, okay. I got nothing.
I've seen it. It's beautiful. I love.
Why isn't it
Another
Natalie
one.
Wood's Brainstorm?
Well, because I never remember that she's in it, but I always remember that he's in it. And it's a beautiful film with a lot of great visuals. I just, I don't think it quite works.
So basically, the plot though is they develop a device where you can jump into somebody else's mind.
Right. Yeah. And then what's her face? Nurse Ratchet records
Louise Fletcher.
Louise
And
Fletcher.
then Cliff Robertson's in this one too. Man, Cliff Robertson had a busy 1983.
Mm-hmm. But basically, she records her death. So we kind of figure out what happens. Yeah. All right. Who's next? What's next?
And there are no other new releases in the top 20 that week. So there you go. So we are now, gentlemen, crossing with quiet dignity into October.
Chad and I never do anything with quietness or dignity.
October 7th, premiering at number 1, as it should, is, as I aforementioned this evening in a segment we did for Good Movie Monday, the classic Sean Connery return to Bond, Never Say Never Again.
And
So
it
I
premiered at
think-
number 1.
Premiered at number 1.
I
10
think
million,
this-
almost $11 million.
I think this
almost
is the only Bond film I have not seen.
Really?
I
You've never
have,
seen it?
But I don't remember a damn thing about it.
I know Kim Basinger is the Bond girl, right? Bond lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know anything about it.
Well, it
can't
premieres at number 1.
What is?
Never Say Never Again premieres at number 1.
Okay.
And it does okay. But gentlemen, premiering at number 3 and taking it almost a fifth of what number 1 premiered at is a movie not many people talk about, though the cast people do know pretty well. Romantic comedy.
That's the name of the movie.
Anybody?
I've never heard of it.
Dudley Moore and Mary Steenburgen star as successful writing partners whose timing is perfect on stage, but amusingly pathetic in their own love life. Directed by Arthur Hillard, written by Bernard Slade.
Arthur Hillard
It
or
stars
Arthur
Dudley
Hiller?
Moore, Mary Steenburgen.
Arthur Hiller.
Arthur Hiller and
Arthur
Steenburgen.
Hiller. Yeah,
Yes.
them too.
Them too.
God,
Listen,
God, Dudley Moore made so many movies that are just so damn forgettable.
Like what? Everyone remembers Funny Farm.
Holy Moses.
Best Defense.
Funny Farm.
I know Funny Farm. Everybody remembers. Oh, it's
It's oh shit. Where they all create.
yeah.
That is what I'm
The
where they
Ad
all
House
create
one.
their marketing. They become
Yeah. Reality.
Still Crazy.
So, no. Damn it. James, keep going while I look this
Now I'm
up.
gonna have to look it up. Keep going.
what the
Jack, 'cause I'm
only
look-
other there's a couple other new releases, but they all premiere in the lower 30s. But I'm going to mention them anyway because I know Joe's a big fan.
Crazy People, Joe.
Crazy People.
I-
That's it.
I know Joe's a big fan of this one that premiered in 15 theaters.
I actually like Crazy People.
This premiered in 15 theaters at number 31. Again, another one Joe will love, The Smurfs and the Magic Flute.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
remember
yeah.
it.
I
That-
don't either. Nobody
That
does.
pre-
Premiering at number 33, Walt Disney's Never Cry Wolf. Anybody remember that one?
Nope.
I don't. But premiering in one theater that will come back. Speaking of a certain other, this was last week we talked about another book from this author that got adapted into the film. Number 37, Rumblefish, premieres
Yeah.
in one theater from Universal. So there you go. We are now to October 14th. Never Say Never hangs in at number 1. The Big Chill hangs in at number 2. Mr. Mom's at number 3. Risky Business is at number 4. Romantic Comedy is at number 5. Brainstorm's at number 6. Revenge of the Ninjas at 7. Flashdance, by the way, goes from 10 to number 8. It never goes away. It is, Chad, it is the latter part of the year's answer to Tootsie.
Oh my God.
National Lampoon's Vacation is number 9, and hanging in at number 10 is that Star Wars. The only other new film that comes out in even the top 20 is Possession. Is in 69 theaters. But if nobody has any comment on that,
No,
I'll just
let's
move
roll on.
Now, this one shocks me a little bit because this is one of my favorite adaptations of a certain author's books. Never Say Never Again holds in at number 1 still in its third week. Only loses 17% in its third week. And brings in still, again, in its third week, $2 million more than the next movie, which is a new release called The Dead Zone.
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which, oh, wait, this was a busy year for Walken, too.
Well, it's a busy year for Walken, and let's be Cronenberg. That's his second movie.
Yeah, yeah. But The Dead Zone is one of my favorite King adaptations.
It's pretty
especially from
close to
this
the
time.
book, actually. I never read the book till a few years ago, and it's pretty close. I mean, they cut chunks, and because you have to, because of it being a novel. But as far as just, it's hard to. It gets the spirit. Christie's complaint was, and it's about actually Walken, that he doesn't quite get the anguish because and I get what she's saying. It's a legitimate criticism because he's Christopher Walken. You don't get the anguish that you do from reading the book, that man is tortured. And
yeah, he has
almost
that
a
one
Jesus thing.
breakdown scene.
Yeah, he has one,
Yeah.
but it's Walken being Walken. It still doesn't kind of bring the torture that he's
God's been a real sport to me.
Yeah. And it's a cool scene, and you've never read the book, it plays fine. But when you read the book, it's oh Jesus, yeah. But you never know he's such he's not as much of a Jesus character as John Coffey is in The Green Mile. but
Yeah.
it's a progression of a man writing a story who's eventually going to get there with one character being punished so badly.
Big Chill, by the way, holds in at number 3, but number 4 is a film most people don't talk about anymore. But Under Fire. Anybody know anything about Under Fire? Because I do.
Talk about it.
No.
I do. Under Fire has a great cast. It's got a 7 out of 10 still to this day on IMDb. It stars Nick Nolte, Ed Harris, and Gene Hackman. Directed by Roger Spottiswoode.
Yeah.
And it's about 3 journalists who end up in this romantic triangle, but it's actually during the fall of a corrupt regime in Nicaragua, which was very much of the time. And that right before it fell to revolution in 1979. So it was based on historic events, and then they had this thing. But it's just got a great cast. And if you've never seen Under Fire, I wouldn't say I'd run out to watch it, but it's pretty well done. And actually, the trailer is even compelling because you follow a Kodak. Back in the day, kids, we had film rolls, and you follow a film roll as it falls, and it cuts to scenes, and then the camera drops, and all this stuff. But it's this odd little romance set during a war and the fall of a country, effectively. I bring that up because it of course, like I said, Dead Zone was number 2. It opens at number 4. Number 6 is All the Right Moves.
All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise.
But here's, gentlemen, what I didn't know. Which, by the way, real quick, Risky Business is still at number 8. All the Right Moves actually moves Risky Business down. But in between those, in a Tom Cruise sandwich, if you will, is a film that I just assumed premiered higher.
What?
It's a film that I assumed premiered higher. Premiering at number 7, The Right Stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh, that,
Yeah, I
that,
would have
didn't,
thought
that
that
started
too.
at number 7. Yeah.
I would have thought it premiered higher.
Huh.
I was shocked by that. I mean, because I always assumed it was a classic, and it is.
Yeah.
But it didn't light up the box office. Other than that, Deathstalker moves up to number 12 somehow. The only other new release, even in the top 20, is the Osterman Weekend.
I got nothing.
All right.
Going.
October 28th, we're heading into Halloween. And of course, when you think Halloween, you can't help but think how much in its 4th week you'd want to see Never Say Never Again at number 1.
Really?
But number 2 is definitely alternative programming to that. Premiering at number 2, Richard Pryor, Here and Now.
Okay.
Which is one of his concert films, right?
Yeah, but I haven't seen it in a long time and I don't remember anything about it. The one I always remember Live at the Sunset Strip, which came after it's the one he did after the fire freebasing incident.
Yeah, after he lit himself on fire.
Yeah.
Dead Zone falls to number 3. Big Chill falls to 4. All the Right moves up to number 5. The Right Stuff moves up to number 6. Under Fire falls to number 7. But going from number 22 to number 8, and basically going from limited release, it was only in 11 theaters, to wide release, Educating Rita.
No.
Michael Caine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then premiering at number 15, Chad's favorite film from Canon, The Wicked Lady.
Never.
Anybody know anything about The Wicked Lady?
Never
I looked at it. I have no idea what it's about. I didn't even bother to look it up. But anyway, that's so that gives us October. No major Halloween releases, you may have noticed.
You're right.
But all right, I had to pull up November real quick. We are now to November.
Hold on.
What is going?
Hold on.
Oh, so you got Wicked Lady? Please tell me what Wicked Lady's about.
The Wicked Lady has a pretty amazing poster. It stars Faye Dunaway. Caroline is to be wed to Sir Ralph and invites her sister Barbara to be her bridesmaid. Barbara seduces Ralph. However, she becomes the new lady. But despite her new wealthy situation, she gets bored and turns to highway robbery for thrills.
All right, I'm intrigued.
I mean,
I mean, she's full on black handkerchief over her face, whip. I forget the old type of gun, what it's called. Not a blunderbuss, but anyway, blunderbuss. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, gentlemen, now we're to November, and of course, all good things must come to an end. Never Say Never Again is finally unseated from the #1 spot after 4 weeks of
I didn't
reigning
realize it
high.
was that big of a hit.
Oh, well, it's Sean Connery back as Bond. I mean,
I
honestly, I didn't know it lasted for 4 weeks, but I knew it did okay. Like, it wasn't a failure. It
Mhm.
just wasn't, it was somewhere in the middle. But you have to remember, this is also after Octopussy never got to #1 because of what it was up against.
Right.
But it is finally unseated by what we can only assume is the greatest film to ever star Sigourney Weaver, Gregory Hines, and of course, Chevy Chase.
Yep.
Directed by William Friedkin.
Yep.
How can we not talk about Deal of the Century?
I remember it. I've seen it. I've read Friedkin's book, and there's a couple pictures he doesn't talk a lot about. And one of them is that damn tree worshiping horror film he did. He doesn't even mention it in the book. But I don't remember him talking about this one much either.
It also stars Wallace. I don't know. I'm sure I've saw it at some point because I used to watch every Chevy Chase film I could get my hands on.
I have seen it, yeah.
But I need to go back and watch this one. By the way, Chad, do you know the plot to this?
No.
A small times arms dealer in South America is there to sell weapons to the revolutionaries, winds up negotiating the sale of an experimental plane to the nation's dictator.
Yep.
Huh. So it's kind of like Nicolas Cage's Lords of War. Is that what that movie was called?
Lord of War. The
Lord of War.
sequel we're getting now, sir, is Lords of War.
Oh, I didn't know we were getting a sequel.
Yeah,
we
they
are.
announced it the other day.
But that premiered at #1. Never Say Never fell to 2. Richard Pryor fell to 3. Big Chill held on to 4. All the Right Moves held on at 5. Dead Zone falls to 6. The Right Stuff falls back down to 7. The Osterman Weekend moves up to #8. Educating Rita falls to 9, and Mr. Mom falls to 10. The only new release in the top 20 is that #19 Paramount Pictures releases Testament. I didn't want to upset any Testament fans.
No,
Yeah.
No, we're good.
November 11th, Big Chill moves into #1 finally. Never Say Never holds on to #2. Richard Pryor is #3. Deal of the Century falls to #4. All the Right Moves is #5, holds on at 5. Dead Zone holds on at 6. The Right Stuff holds on at 7. Educating Rita moves back up to #8. And Walt Disney's Never Cry Wolf actually moves into the top 10 at #9. Osterman Weekend falls to 10. The only other new release that even breaks the top 25, and I want to mention this one because it is one that some people might know, and you all might actually have a comment on, is premiering at #21 is Star 80.
Yeah, the comment I have, and if you don't know Star 80, it's about the stars Eric Roberts and can't think of the lady who played
Mariel Hemingway.
Mariel Hemingway.
And Cliff Robertson again.
Once again,
Did Cliff Robertson not have a new movie every weekend?
Peter Bogdanovich was pretty pissed about the movie. And Star 80, I think, is directed by
Bob Fosse.
Bob Fosse, yeah. So I never remember her name, James. What's her name?
Mariel Hemingway.
No,
it's based on
Dorothy Dandridge.
No, not Dorothy Dandridge. The murder of she's a Playboy playmate.
Yeah, I forgot her name. Shoot.
Dorothy Stratton.
Dorothy Stratton, yeah.
I was close.
Oddly enough, Bogdanovich ended up being, I don't know if he married, but he was he was in a fairly serious relationship for many years with her younger sister. Food for thought. But anyway,
Yeah.
next.
So that is November 11th. We are now to November 18th, where we will see again another classic horror film get a 3D follow-up, because premiering at number 1 is Amityville 3D. 3D.
That's another one I don't remember a damn thing about.
That's not the one with the lamp, right?
No, it's not the
Okay.
one with the lamp.
Okay.
Nor is it the one where Jeremy Miracle was drunk one night screaming, "You don't take that shit, Paulie." That's the second one.
Oh, yeah. There's, by the way, there's a franchise that keeps making a comeback, and I'm not exactly sure why.
I mean, kind of like the remake with Ryan Reynolds.
No, but I mean, how many Amityvilles were there?
Oh, there's a ton.
Too many.
There's
That's
a
how
bunch
many.
that were made for TV too. I mean, there's
Yeah.
So anyway, that premieres at number 1. Big Chill holds on at number 2, but number 3. And keep in mind, we are now to November 18th. We get the release of something that we will see annually from now on until probably long after I'm dead. A Christmas Story.
When did it come out?
Jesus.
November 18th.
I thought it came out in the summer. I am a dumbass, but for some odd reason in my head for years, that movie came out in the summer.
Well,
And what did it premiere at?
it premiered at number 3.
Yeah.
It made $2 million
Mm-hmm.
on 886 screens. The
Right.
per screen average was only slightly above Never Say Never Again.
Right.
But by the way, anybody want to say anything about A Christmas Story? I think most people know what A Christmas Story is. Premiering at number 5 this week is 20th Century Fox's A Night in Heaven, which was released in more theaters, but obviously did not do as well.
That just sounds like a made-for-TV movie title.
Well, Chad,
No, it
here's the
isn't.
obvious
It's what
plot.
I give out to people who come stay at my house. If you know what I'm saying.
It stars the great Leslie Ann Warren and Christopher Atkins, written by Joan Tewksbury and directed by John G.
John G.
Avildsen.
Avildsen. Yeah, he directed Rocky. And
Yeah.
But it is effectively about a married college professor who begins a torrid affair with a failing student who secretly moonlights as a late-night strip club dancer.
I need to go watch this immediately.
And
Yeah,
well,
I
just
don't know.
for Leslie Ann Warren.
It's
Yeah.
R-rated, Joe, but don't worry, it's only an hour and 20 minutes long, so you won't waste too much time.
And the poster is a sight to see.
Oh yeah, it's a great poster. Yeah, it's a poster you need to
What's
put
the
up.
name of it again?
A Night,
A Night
in
in Heaven.
A Night in Heaven.
But by the way,
Joe Lewis story.
was I foreshadowing earlier? Yes, I was, because jumping from number 27 in limited release to number 8, Atlantic Pictures releases The Smurfs and the Magic Flute in a total of 183 theaters, and it grosses over $1 million. So it jumps into the top 10. Only other new releases, actually, there's a couple. This is when we're going to start getting limited releases where people are trying to shoot for that Oscar. Nathan Hayes premieres at number 14 in a lot of theaters, so that wasn't a shooting for the Oscar. Nobody talks about Nathan Hayes from Paramount.
Well, I remember it. We've talked about it on here before, right?
Well, you tell the people about Nathan Hayes.
It stars Tommy Lee Jones, and I don't remember who the other one is, correct? And it's a ripoff of Indiana Jones.
Oh, it stars Michael O'Keefe, not to be confused with Miles O'Keefe.
Oh.
But yeah, it's set in the 1800s, so it's set. Yeah.
What I just said.
Not a horrible cast, though. You're right.
You never seen it? We talked
don't-
about this before.
I think so.
You've watched all those other.
It was a vintage year for slave mongers, do-gooders, murderers, and Bully Hayes. What a slogan.
So, Bully Hayes is the name of the movie.
Nate and Hayes.
Nate and Hayes.
Nate Hayes. I'm sorry, I was watching Leslie Ann Warren fawn over a stripper.
Hmm.
As you should. But the only other new release in the top 20, premiering on 13 screens, Yentl.
I have never seen it.
No, and I'm not going to.
I'm with Chad. I'm probably not going to see it.
Hey, guess what happens the next week, though, gentlemen?
What?
As we get to November 25th,
Oh shit, we're
which
still
I'm
in November?
assuming would happen to be near Thanksgiving, A Christmas Story jumps from number 3 to number 1.
Oh, that's good.
It actually earns 90% more than it did during its premiere week, adds 52 theaters, grosses almost $4 million that weekend, and beats out some film nobody will ever talk about again, ever. As a matter of fact, you probably have never even heard of this film. Paramount Pictures releases something called Terms of Endearment.
Oh,
Anybody want to talk Terms of Endearment real quick?
a good movie. It's a good movie based on an award-winning book written by Larry McMurtry with an almost perfect cast, and Burt Reynolds was an idiot to turn down the role that Jack Nicholson took.
Yep.
What was doing Stroker?
Yeah, you're probably right, Chad.
So
Probably right.
you're wrong.
No, no, on this one, I'm completely right. It is a happy accident. That's James. He worked on Taxi and blah blah blah. James, I can never remember his name. He's also one of the creators of The Simpsons.
James Brooks.
James Brooks it is a happy accident. I think it's the first movie he directed, and there's a lot of stories about behind the scenes.
Can I bring up one film that
No.
did premiere this weekend? It premiered at number 17, only in 199 theaters,
Yeah.
but had a per screen gross average of $2,716, which is better than a lot of other films were doing, and gave us somebody that would go on to become RoboCop. And this wasn't his first film, but I wanted to bring this up because this film was released by Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what you're thinking. Sure. If you want to talk about the greatest rat film of all time, it's Willard. But
No, I've seen this one.
Doesn't Peter Weller's performance in Of Unknown Origin deserve some credit?
It's actually directed by George Cosmatos.
Yes.
Who would go on to give us Leviathan, and his son Pan would direct one of the best Nicolas Cage films of all time, Mandy.
Yes.
You
I
also
agreed on all
You
counts.
forgot about Tombstone, which he technically, from stories, did not actually direct.
He technically showed up on set and said action's what I hear.
Yeah.
And then would piss off on the other. It would be pissing during a take.
Yeah.
But by the way, Of Unknown Origin, 1983, Peter Weller, best known for most people as from that Star Trek movie, but also RoboCop.
Also RoboCop. Actually, Unknown Origin's not a bad picture.
No, I mean it did better than they thought it would. That's why I wanted to bring it up, but nobody talks about Of Unknown Origin.
No, it's a forgotten rat movie.
Yeah, I mean, but it's basically, here's the plot, kids. He buys a house, he gets the house exactly how he wants it, and then this demon rat moves in. It's not actually a demon. Or is it? You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
The best rat movie. The best rat movie is Graveyard Shift.
There was somebody defending it the other day. I can't. I do know. He's been a guest on our show.
Yeah.
Chris Alexander.
All right, gentlemen. We are now to December 2nd. We're closing in on the end of the year, and I know what you're thinking. Gee, this totally has changed my mind about 1983. It is the best year for films ever, said no one.
Hey, I'm on the fence.
It's not the best year. It had some good movies, though.
Terms of Endearment holds on at number 1, or was number 2, moves to number 1. Christmas Story moves back down to number 2. Still doing okay, though.
Yeah.
Big Chill, number 3. Never Say Never Again holds on at number 4. The Smurfs move up to number 5.
Damn.
All the Right Moves moves up to number 6. Dead Zone had fallen out of the top 10 and fallen to 13, jumps back up to number 7. Educating Rita jumps back up to number 8. Amityville 3D falls all the way to number 9. Richard Pryor is at 10. And gentlemen, ain't nothing else new this week.
Okay.
They re-released Vertigo. That's it. So we jump to December 9th. And gentlemen, this is the weekend we finally get some new films. Because if you're going to talk about a film that had massive cultural impact, that people have tattoos of, that, oh, it's going to have major impact, premiering at number one and making $9,688,000 is, of course, Sudden Impact. Sudden Impact.
Impact. Yeah.
Anybody? Sudden Impact?
I haven't seen it in a long time, guys. I don't remember the plot of it or anything.
I just remember him going through the
Clint Eastwood for our people out there.
yeah, playing Dirty Harry. He was right. It's him all I remember is him going through the obstacle course shooting his gun. That's literally all I remember of Sudden Impact.
Yeah, it is another Dirty Harry film, and it stars Sandra Locke, who had no effect whatsoever on Clint Eastwood. And
It's an inside joke.
Pat Hingle was also in it. Pat Hingle. Everybody loves Pat Hingle.
Well, especially in Maximum Overdrive, where he gave the best performance of all time by any actor ever.
And now this is followed by a film. So that was premiered at number one. This is followed by a film that a few people still talk about, so I probably do need to mention it. Scarface. Oh, Scarface. I'm sorry. Some people talk about this film still. It's
Scarface came out.
Scarface.
I
number
keep thinking
two.
that's an 82 one, and I just
Scarface came out at number two.
Yeah, no offense, we can't say 83 sucked anymore.
Terms of Endearment fell to number
it's like
three.
I didn't say it at all.
Will you stop bashing 1983 so we can finish the show? Because number four, man, it was a good year for Stephen King, because number four is Christine.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, there's another one I completely forgot about. Norda, why would you release that at Christmas?
December 9th.
December 9th. Yeah,
December
why would thank God I went back in time. We're almost done with this shit. Yeah, December 9th, Christine. That's crazy.
It is a little.
Yeah, so Scarface, by the way.
Yeah, what are we going to do this year for Christmas, Papa? We're going to Tony Montana, your cockroach.
It does. Scarface does have a lot of snow in it.
That's there. Yeah, it's a much better joke than what I did. Good job, James.
I did what I can. By the way, Yentl is finally in wide release and jumps up to number 5.
Fuck Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
Mecha Streisand. Anyway, that's it. By the way, you'll be sad to know, Joe, that by this point, A Night in Heaven has fallen to number 16.
I was worried.
Number 23, though, is another new release, The Dresser. It's about furniture. That's it, though. But Scarface and Sudden Impact and Christine all premiering on the same weekend. I got to give them some credit for.
Yeah.
Now we're up to December 16th. Oh, the holidays are coming. So what's going to be number 1 now? Sudden Impact still. What's number 2? That's also Scarface. What's number 3? Still Terms of Endearment. But number 4 is Two of a Kind. 20th Century Fox's great Two of a Kind. Does anybody know what Two of a Kind is?
Yes, but I want to look it up. Because I can't.
It's a John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John coming back together. When God decides to destroy Earth, 4 angels aim to redeem mankind through a young man and woman with their own troubles.
Yeah, this is dreadful.
It's Oliver Reed, Charles Durning, Beatrice Straight, and Scatman Crothers as the angels.
Oh my God, what a great cast, though!
All right, I give. Let's go watch it.
Yeah,
let's find it and watch it. It seems to be done.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a deep philosophical film right up there with the Seventh Seal.
Hold on, let's see if it's streaming.
It's not listed under streaming.
Because, gentlemen, when I tell you the next film...
Well, just go ahead and tell us why he's looking it up.
Well, gentlemen, because this film...
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to say the film that...
Two of a Kind beat out Paramount Pictures film starring no one that matters, Uncommon Valor. I'm kidding. It stars Gene Hackman, Patrick Swayze, and Robert Stack.
Yeah.
10 years after his son went MIA in Vietnam, U.S. Marine retired Colonel Jason Rhodes assembles a private rescue team to find Americans held in POW camps in Laos. How did Uncommon Valor lose out to Olivia Newton-John? I guess it was of the time, right? Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta. Maybe that's it.
Oh no.
But also released this weekend, and actually premiering at number 7, which I wouldn't have thought, was The Rescuers. Walt Disney's The Rescuers.
And The Rescuers was a big hit. That's the reason. Remember, we talked about this, and it ended up there's a reason there's a sequel to The Rescuers. Have we talked about this on here?
Yeah, because Disney used to not do sequels. Now they do
Right.
all the time, but they
Right.
used to. I mean, that was verboten.
Yeah. So the
It was also
Rescuers,
forbidden.
the Rescuers must have just kept on playing throughout the Christmas season. All right, next weekend.
Well, we're not done yet, Joe. We're
What?
not even to the top 10 because if I don't mention this next one, Chad will kill my whole family.
You have no idea how much I'm bouncing off my chair waiting for you to say this, so I can say that 1983 is seriously the best year ever for movies.
Because premiering at number 9 from Universal Pictures in 862 theaters, where it somehow averaged only $1,815 per theater, is a little film called DC Cap.
There you go.
It came in at number 9.
That is
Oh,
shocking. That
let me
movie
go
is
ahead
fan-
and
movie
make
is-
it
that
worse
movie's
because
fantastic. Terms of endearment. Huh, huh.
Poor Christine.
Talk about perfectly cast.
by the way, number 10 must be a movie about me because Sony Pictures unleashed The Man Who Loved Women.
But by the way, Two of a Kind ain't streaming shit.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Anybody know anything about The Man Who Loved Women?
Isn't that's Burt Reynolds?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Well,
remade from a French film that came out in 77.
It's got I've actually never seen it other than it has one of the worst movie posters ever.
but I love his beard in it. And it's
Yeah,
directed by Blake Edwards.
That is one of the weirdest damn beards in the history
It's
of beards.
directed by Blake Edwards, and it's got Kim Basinger. And
You
Mary
can
Lou
keep
Henner.
saying that. That doesn't make it not a piece of shit.
It
By
is
the way-
amazing.
This was a huge book, and I didn't know it premiered this low. The poster for it is horrible because premiering
That's what
at
I'm
number
saying.
10.
It's awful.
No. I'm talking about the next movie that premiered
Oh.
at premiered at number 11. 10 was The Man Who Loved Women. Another new release premiering at number 11 was Gorky Park,
Oh, really?
It's right
which
next
was a
to Ichiku
huge
Park.
book. Michael Apted directed it, starred William Hurt, Lee Marvin, and Brian Dennehy.
Mhm.
If you've never, but the book it was an international thriller. A Moscow police officer investigates a vicious triple homicide and stumbles upon a high level international political conspiracy.
So
I own the first edition of the book.
so Michael Hurt. We never talked about this. Is he one of those actors that just when he's on the screen, he rubs me the wrong way every single time?
Michael Hurt or William Hurt?
William Hurt.
William
said
Hurt
Michael.
never rubs me. He won't touch me.
I just every time he's on the screen, it's just meh.
No, he doesn't give me Steven Dorff vibes.
It just seems like he has no range. It's just always like wooden acting. William Hurt. I can't get into it. I never could get into
But he doesn't get into you now.
Some of the movies he makes, I thoroughly enjoy, but it's not because of him.
You loved him as Thunderbolt Claptrap.
Kiss of the Spider Woman,
Thunderbolt Claptrap.
Michael, the Body Heat. I mean, Big Chill. But again, it's not because of him.
So, by the way, this is the loaded weekend for movies that got released that nobody talks about anymore. Gorky Park, number 11. Number 12, Joe, I thought you might have a comment on because I do know that you suffer from that medical condition where you're obsessed with Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Silkwood.
Oh, yeah.
Silkwood premiered at number 12.
Starring that Meryl Streep. That must have been a limited release.
Yep. Directed by Mike Nichols,
Mhm.
written by Nora Ephron
Mhm.
and our Alice Arlen. But yeah, it's probably Kurt Russell's best film where he's that involves a worker at a plutonium factory.
Oh, I'd imagine so. All right. Are we moving on?
Oh no, there's more new releases that just went nowhere because there's another 1983 release which I'm double checking to make sure because I think we've seen this one if I'm remembering correctly, I'm just double checking if my fingers would work.
Yes.
Yeah, 1983, we also see the release of Michael Mann's film this weekend starring Scott Glenn, Ian McKellen, and Alberta Watson, The Keep.
The Keep. Yeah, The Keep is a really flawed movie that some people love, but I don't understand why.
That
terms of
premiered at
endearment.
number 13. And then one other film premiered at number 14. And it's another one that I'm kind of shocked because I own this one and I didn't even know it came out this year. Mel Brooks and Anne Bancroft in To Be or Not
No.
to Be.
Boy, everything's just getting killed at the Christmas box office.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
trying to squeeze everything they can into those last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
so those are the ones that, I mean, all those were new releases and they didn't even break. DC Cab, let me drive this point home, was the best performing other than The Rescuers. But DC Cab was number 9. All those films I just named, The Man Who Loved Women was number 10. Gorky Park was
Don't go
11.
through
So
them all
was
again.
we don't just go
You're
to the
not-
Come
next
on to the
week.
next one.
Just saying.
Yeah, we got it. The audience got it. The people over in Canada got it.
Joe and I need to sleep. We're not vampire like you.
Over in Canada.
Over in Canada.
Like over the seas.
Yeah, they got that damn wall and shit because they don't want Americans in there.
December 23rd.
Do you
Guess what
blame 'em?
happens?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. No new releases break the top 20.
Nothing?
None. No. Matter of fact, the only new release, actually, there are no new releases that break the top 30, Joe.
That's okay.
DC Cab falls to number 10, though.
Son of
Wow.
a bitch.
Sudden Impact, by the way, is still maintaining number 1. So we finally end up on December 30th. We're going to close out 1983.
Hold on. Let Joe and I can both 1, 2, 3.
Thank God.
Hey, the people like these, you said.
I'd be-
Yeah, they also listen to us, which means they don't have any taste. Keep going.
Don't worry, gentlemen. You know the new release that comes out December 30th that breaks the top 20?
What's that?
There's not one. There's not one.
DC Cab is just
A Christmas
strong.
Story is still holding on at number 17, and Christmas is over. That's how bad it's going. DC Cab, by the way, is still at number 10. It didn't fall. Matter of fact, Chad, you'll be glad to know that it went up because of the holidays. They added 34 screens for it to make sure it held on at number 10.
damn
Yentl,
straight.
by the way, did move into the top 10, though. It is now at
Fuck
number
Yentl.
3.
Ow.
Terms of Endearment moved to number 1. Sudden Impact fell to number 2. But otherwise, everything else, Two of a Kind is at number 5. Uncommon Valor is still at 6. Rescuers still at number 7. Silkwood jumps up to number 8. Christine holds on at 9. And then I said DC Cab is number 10. To Be or Not to Be moves up to number 11. But that's it, folks. There are no new releases that change between. So before Christmas through Christmas, everything they jockey for position, but no new releases break the top 20. 1983 is probably problematic for that reason. The ones that stayed at number 1, be it a holdover like Tootsie from 1982 or the ones that get released, Star Wars, there's just nothing that breaks those.
Mhm.
And so if you just look at the top 10, it seems like a very stagnant year. So I can see where people come from when they say that it may have been the worst year in some ways, because if you're only looking at the top 10, or especially if you're only looking at the top 3 or top 5, it
Yeah.
does seem a very stagnant year.
Yeah.
But I don't mean to say anything bad about Tootsie, Chad. Stop threatening me.
Let's see.
This one
I-
was a rougher year to do. We had more surprises. I mean, there were.
Yeah.
I won't say it's the worst year ever.
It's not. But as we
But-
it took a long time to get there.
Well,
I will
there's.
say
I
that.
was gonna say there's a lot of coal before you find these diamonds.
That's
And
true.
if I was the age that I am now and still being a movie fan, that year would have been hard to get through because I'm just like, when is something good going to come out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, and I was thinking, as a parent, what are you going to take your kids to see from all that?
And by
I mean,
the way,
yes, Yes,
I'm-
Joe. Of course, you're going to take your child to see A Night in Heaven. Sure, Joe.
The Rescuers was a re-release in '83. It didn't come out in '83.
I thought
Okay.
that seemed odd. It was like 1970s when that came out.
Yeah, it's a re-release.
Okay, that makes sense. But
Okay.
it's still trucking along.
I know.
But yeah,
All right, guys. Well, this has been 1983. We appreciate you listening. I don't really have anything else to say other than.
we won't do another one of these for a while. But if you have a certain year where you really want us to talk
Well,
about,
I really
movies
want
of
to
that
do
year-
85 and 86.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Back to the Future.
Look at Chad.
Sorry, listeners. I
Yeah.
tried to block that.
That wasn't Chad sneezing.
I thought
that
Chad was going to
Chad.
throw up because he was going to have a stroke because we were going to do 85 and 86.
This wasn't cleared by the committee.
It's
Like
been
the show,
revoked.
the committee.
Well, by the way, I actually, and I usually, if it's Twitter, it's me. Usually, 99.9% of times. But I did throw out the idea of doing weird cars used in films there as well.
Yep. Yeah. You put me in that one thing.
Yeah, well, I thought you would like to see the Texas Doodlebug, Texaco Doodlebug. Why doesn't Texaco make more cars?
I'd like to do the Texas Doodle Bug on my own. All right. That's it. This has been
You'll go
Bonehead
blind.
Weekly.
Arr.